Always a good time to talk Michigan football, and we have Jim Scarcelli like we do every Monday to talk a little Michigan football. It's great to see him. Scar, hello. How are you?
I'm good. It's a good time of year. Spring game around the corner. Hearing good things. We don't rebuild, we reload.
That's what you're hearing, that Michigan's
First time I heard that, Denny, I was in high school. You know, the colleges send stuff to all the high schools forever. They've been doing posters or whatever. But I remember seeing the one from Oklahoma. My coach had it in the coach's office. And it was a poster, their schedule, whatever. You know, we don't rebuild, we reload. Barry Switzer. That's the kind of statement he would make.
Yeah. Michigan had speaking of a sign up, they had a new sign up today at Michigan. I don't know if you can see what it says. Scar, no red, no green beyond this point.
Danny, that's been around for 40, as long as I can go back. That was at the camp when I was in camp as a high school kid. You know, what are you doing wearing red? What are you doing wearing green? That is not new. That is that goes back. Yeah,
Michigan fans will challenge you if you wear this shirt. I guess you could say it's red. If I ran into a Michigan fan on the street, they might say that would be one of the things, if I would guess, if I had a top 5 list, like, why are you wearing a red shirt? They love challenging you on your clothes. So that always happens.
You know, it's just you're instilling a mindset, man. You're that's all Schembechler, Moeller, Carr. You know, it's just like, hey, that's what we are, man. We're maize and blue. You it's not by accident though. You're constantly getting your team to think that those are the enemy. They are the enemy, and we are always thinking about them.
Yeah. Well, all right, that's good. I was going to say
it's psychological though, to get you thinking that year round they are the enemy, and we are working every day to beat them.
Yeah, I'm all right with that. That sounds good. I want to tell everyone out there that if they're looking for the latest on Michigan football, recruiting, basketball, what's going on in the transfer portal, we see that Dusty's been doing work over there. All of that is over on the Maize and Blue Review, and you can get instant access by going to michigan.rivals.com. We'd love to see you over there and get after it. All right, Scar, let's start this out. Top thing that you wanted to get to was the Michigan offense heading in to spring ball from last year, now heading into this year.
Denny, I'm basing my thoughts on what I saw, what I'm listening to the coaches talk, watching the players that we brought in, watching the guys that are coming back that played against Ohio State, played against Alabama. So this is where I think we're at offensively. And I'm going to give you a ranking of where I thought we were last year at certain position groups and where I think we're going to be this year. Okay. So I'm going to start with QB. I honestly believe we were 17th or 18th in the quarterback room. We were that bad, okay? I believe. I know we beat up last year, but I think we could be if Mikey Keene plays like I think he's going to play, and Underwood develops like I think he's going to develop, and Jaden Davis comes along, and if we get Davis Warren back, we're going to have 4 guys. I think we could be anywhere from 1 to 5. I'm not putting an exact number, but our quarterback room could be anywhere from 1 to 5. That's where I'm at on quarterbacks. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I'm I wouldn't say down on the position, but with the news that Mikey Keene isn't practicing and that Davis Warren is a complete question mark. And so you're talking about a 17-year-old that you're going to look like you're relying on that could be the starter for the season. I don't like that. Although for what it's worth, Jaden Davis, Ron Bellamy, everybody that talks about that spoke today, Jaden Davis, Ron Bellamy, the wide receiver coach, was saying nice things about Jaden Davis, and so was Lamar Morgan. So maybe you've got, Davis is taking this opportunity to get into the mix. That's a positive. But I think the quarterback room is unsettled. I think they're going to have to. I mean, they're compelled to go back into the transfer portal and get another quarterback with the uncertainty, certainly of Warren and with Mikey Keene.
Because Danny, this is discouraging. And he's still not, as far as the sources, he's still. Well, I guess we're going to find out at the spring game. So if he doesn't play at the spring game, that probably means he's going back in the portal.
Well, I don't know. We don't know what the injury is. So
yeah, I just hope he's not. I don't believe nothing coming out of anybody's camp ever. I just don't. Any team. So we don't know if he's injured. We don't know if he's not. If he thinks he's there.
We know that the word is that he's injured. You could say that you don't believe anything that's coming out of camp, but the best intelligence is that he's injured. I mean, what?
Okay.
All
right.
I don't know what else you would think, that he's got a bad attitude.
Well, I just think coaches throw curveballs, Danny. Coaches throw curveballs. It's what I did. It's what people do. Let me move on. Running back. I think we were about 12 at best in the Big Ten. I just think we played about 3 or 4 games in the Big Ten where people had better running backs than us last year. We're going to be a more physical running backfield. I mean, Mullings was a physical, tough kid, but I think we're going to have a complete physical with Marshall and the kid from Alabama. So I think we could be anywhere. Running back room could be anywhere from 1 to 5. So that's where I think we're at in the running back room. Any thoughts? You want me to go to the next?
They're strong there. Justice Haynes is the one that you talked about. Alabama. Yeah, he's a star. Okay. Or I mean, he's it could be a star. I like the running back room.
All right, tight end room. I think we were anywhere from 1 to, we could have been the number 1 tight end room in the country or in the Big Ten with Loveland. He got banged up late in the year, but you could make the argument we were the best tight end room in the Big Ten. Yeah. And I believe we you can make that argument. I think we're going to be 2 to 5 with Hogan and Klein. And I think we're going to be in really good shape with the tight end room. So anywhere from 2 to 5 is my prediction there. Based on what
I'm with you there too. Yeah. I mean, Hansen and Klein. We saw Hansen last year, and if I had to put Klein's name, there's been a lot of buzz about how he's played in spring, so that's good. We know he's fast, and you liked him last year. Whenever I
liked him before anybody knew about him. Just what I saw. In the spring
I agree
game.
With you on that.
Danny, I saw a tight end that can block and a tight end that can catch. Hogan will be a kid that can play at the line of scrimmage. So no imposters there. That's what I like there. I think our offensive line. I think our offensive line got a bad rap last year because we were so poor in so many other positions. I would have put us at about a 5 in the Big Ten out of 18 teams. That's honestly where I thought you could make the argument. And we could be anywhere from 1 to 5 this year. I have a lot of faith in the people coming back. We're going to have a good offensive line, man. So I have good faith in our offensive line. You got to surround them with receivers. You got to surround them with running backs, quarterbacks that can complete passes. So I'm high on our offensive line. I heard, that was the narrative from a lot of Michigan analysts, Michigan people, that our woes were based on our offensive line. And I just never buy that argument. We don't do enough to help our offensive line. And hopefully with Chip, better play calling, better scheme, mix in some 7 offensive linemen, mix in more quarterback run, mix in more shifting and motions and bullshit to confuse the defense. We got to do more of that, Denny. That stuff helps your offensive line, man. I don't want to hear that these guys aren't good. You got to help them with stuff and playmakers.
Yeah, well, everything when it comes down to the offense, they had the worst offense and the passing offense in college football. So that's going to trickle down in a lot of different areas when you're talking about last year to this year. And they really had a lot of growing pains at right tackle, but the growing pains from last year, and Evan Link is the one. There were times that you were watching him through the first few games that people were wondering, like, if this is the best they've got, Michigan's in trouble. But so he was up and down, but then he really improved during the year with baptism under fire. And I think generally now people feel pretty good about him. So that experience that he got last year should pay off this year for you.
Sprague and then the
people
kids,
love Sprague.
Some of the transfers. I'm high on our offensive line, big time, anywhere from 1 to 5. And our receiver group is going to be a big jump, I think. I think the kid from Indiana, McCulley, is that how you say it? McCulley?
Yeah.
I think we're going to be a much better receiver room. We're going to be a factor. We don't have to throw perfect passes. We got guys that are going to make it easier for quarterbacks, all that stuff is going to help our run game, Denny. When the pass game is good, it helps your run game. When the quarterback's got scheme, it helps your run game. It helps your pass game. Anytime you can confuse a defense, it helps everything offensively. So we got to get back to, you just can't line up and just knock people off the ball, Denny. You got to be, you still got to have a deceptive part of what you do. So that's where I'm at. So I'm basically feeling that we're going to be better at 4 position groups. Tight end is the only one that might be not as good.
Yeah, well, you got to have a quarterback being able to deliver the ball if you want your wide receivers. I think there's a lot of guys like Moore and Morgan specifically that are going to get a bad rap of having a down year, but they didn't have a quarterback that could throw them the ball. I happen to think those guys are pretty good wide receivers, and I think Michigan's going to have a capable quarterback. But I agree with you. I think huge upgrade at the wide receiver position. Every person that talks in the spring mentions McCulley's size and his ability to go up and get the ball. He's got the most experience. If somebody asked me who's Michigan's playmaker, who's their best wide receiver, I would say, without seeing him myself, I would say McCulley. And we've seen more. I just like the way this sets up. They've got their top 3 in the 3 M's, Morgan, Moore, and McCulley. But then you got a next set of guys, Kendrick Bell here and there, Peyton O'Leary. Those guys will be in there. But then the 2 freshmen from last year who didn't play, Channing Goodwin and Amarian Stewart. And then you've got 3 freshmen, Browder and Marsh. You could tell by listening to Ron Bellamy. And if you go to the Maize and Blue Review, you can see everything that he said right now on his there's a transcript there. But you could tell that Browder and Marsh are I don't know if to say the real deal or they're going to play, but they look like
they're going to challenge for reps, Danny.
Challenge for reps. It's a good way to say it.
I'm going to say this. I'll bet you a hamburger that 2 of those guys transfer on that list before next season.
Yeah, well, hey, but before after the spring game, right? So I think
there's a lot of competition there, and if he's high on those 2 freshmen, and you've got your top guys on that list, there's a bunch of guys in between. Some of them are going to come out of spring ball with hurt feelings and discussions that aren't going the way they want, and I think they might jump in the portal.
I agree with you, Scar, but showing what kind of person I am, I'll let you go double or nothing because you owe me a couple of hamburgers from our Alex Orgy bet from last year. So we'll go. We'll see about that. Yeah, too much. I like I like how it just sets up that.
Well, I'll tell you what we'll do, Denny. We'll just go to a Coastal Carolina game. They're throwing out free concessions. Did you read that? Coastal Carolina football. You buy a ticket. All you can eat, man. All the hot dogs and nachos and there's I think popcorn and drinks. So I'll just take you to a Coastal Carolina game and let you throw down.
It reminds me there was, I don't know if they still do it. It's been a few years, but the Red Wings that have $1 dog night, and a few years in a row I went to that. But the thing about hot dogs is once you could say you can eat a million, but really after 2 or 3, hot dogs, that's about all you really want. You don't want any more than 2 or 3 hot dogs. But when they're $1 dogs, you end up eating more than 2 or 3. So however that goes.
I went to the hot dog eating deal down in Coney Island there, on 4th of July.
Yeah.
Put that on your bucket list. It's something to see, man.
I have no interest in doing that. Although I did go to that same in Brooklyn. You went to that
Nathan's down there, Coney Island, man. There's
I wasn't all that there. I wasn't all that impressed with the hot dog. Actually, I got one.
Anyway, they put them down, man. But anyway, that's going on at Coastal Carolina. I just thought that was of note. People doing things to get people to come to games. You got a lot of spring games this weekend, Danny. Hopefully we'll have a couple on TV. The Buckeyes are going. They've got, I looked at the website. It's got to be announced as far as television. but I'm hoping to see some Big Ten teams. A lot of them are doing anything. We're not going to see nothing. It's just amazing, the mentality, man. Fans aren't going to see half the Big Ten teams aren't doing anything for anyone to see anything.
I would bet that Ohio State is going to do what Michigan's doing, and they're going to say, hey, yeah, you can play it, but you can't play it until after the portal closes.
Oh, is that what you're hearing? They're going to do it after, they're going to show it after the portal?
Well, that's what Michigan's doing.
Okay, because you can come to the game.
You can come to the game
on Saturday, the 19th.
Yeah.
But it's not going to be it's not going to be televised.
Correct.
So some guy could go to the game, film it with his phone, and put it on YouTube.
But yeah, I don't think, yes, anybody can do that, right?
Yeah, anyone can film it and do whatever the hell they want to do with it.
I gotta, you start talking about it, all of a sudden, because
that's what people are going to do, man.
Yeah, you don't have to dress up like Connor or dress up like and get on the sideline with some, Groucho Marx routine or anything.
Well, there'll be some. Hey, there will be some people in the stands.
Oh yeah,
schools sizing up the talent. I didn't know they're going to wait that long. That's what you understand. They're going to wait till after the portal closes.
Right. Well, it closes just a couple days after the 19th. I don't have the date in front of me, but
wow.
We're thinking about the following Saturday. Okay. Yeah, so I would guess Ohio State would want to, follow that. Although, who knows? They're not the smartest, group down there. Maybe they don't get it.
Yeah.
So,
Danny, I'll tell you something. As a former high school coach, that kind of is bugging me. I went to Michigan's website, and we do not have a clinic, a Michigan football high school clinic anymore. They're not doing it. That was always it was one of the best clinics around, man. I remember as a player, we had to go through 20 practices, and they were tough practices in spring football. But the clinic counted as one of the practices because the players were used to demonstrate for the high school coaches. You follow me? And some of the college coaches around the country that would go to it. So it was good as a player because it counted as a practice. But as a high school coach, I brought my staff many years to the clinic, and they're not even doing it anymore. I looked at Michigan State's; they're not doing it. It's just the trend in college football, man. No spring game, no clinic. It's like, damn, man. Because the clinic was a way for the coaches to make money also. The guys weren't making defensive coordinators weren't making $2.5 million. You know what I mean? It was a way to make a couple bucks. So that's the direction of college football. Because I really liked going to Michigan's camp. It was our clinic. It was one of the best ones. Listening to the coaches present. And anyway, we're not doing it. And I just wanted to voice that's discouraging as a former high school coach.
And you would guess that they don't do it because the coaches get paid enough money now.
I'm trying to justify why the hell you wouldn't do it, and I'm thinking these guys are making so much damn money now. That's why they don't need to do it anymore.
Well, it always seemed like the Ferris State camp or something that they do. Is that a clinic?
Yeah, those are camps, Danny. Those are camps.
All right.
College. That's a whole other deal. Kids go to that, unless it's got to the point where these coaches, they come to these, they don't want to present anything and teach anybody anything as to what you're doing. You know what I mean? How are you teaching this, that? How are you? Because that's what coaches do at clinics. How do you teach double team? How do you adjust to this formation? How do you, how do you block the power play, the gap scheme, the zone, the RPO? All that stuff is what coaches talk about at clinics. And I don't know if it's that they don't want to share nothing with anybody anymore. I don't know if that's the trend now. Discouraging. I
got you. Well, we went through the offense. What did you say? You got the analytics on here, an analytics coach.
Yeah, I just saw that USC is going to be. They're supposed to be the first team in the country. I mean, everything started with Moneyball, right, Denny, in Oakland. Analytics. Right? Analyzing, a player, it's not always what you think, batting average. You know what I mean? There's all them little things. How many times you get on base. So anyway, there's people, college coaches are using analytics now they hired a guy. They got an analytics guy. Everybody's got their recruiting coordinator, your strength coach, and now you also got an analytics guy. So they're going to find ways to size up and evaluate transfers and high school kids, plugging in their analytics, formula to determine if the kids are going to, what are they going to be? So that's interesting that analytics are now being used in college football.
Well, I remember during the hockey season that I was going with the hockey team out to Wisconsin, and I found out that during games that Michigan has 10 people just committed to some sort of analytics during the game. They're recording, they're charting something that's during the game. And I thought, if the hockey has 9 people that are doing this during the game, how big is the football?
Yeah, every player is watched, Denny. That's a little different than what I'm talking about.
I'll tell you this, that I was also talking about I was talking practice today with someone, and I was talking about shooting video, and they said, was it Phil Bromley? Is that his name? Who heads up the?
Phil was there when I was there, Denny.
Right,
he got there right when I was leaving. Phil is a legend.
This guy told me that Phil Bromley shoots the all 11 or all 22. They've got 12 cameras during practice that are shooting from the different angles. And I would think that is what's, would be involved. And when people look at Pro Football Focus, they always say, well, yeah, I mean, how much is Michigan staff paying attention to that? Well, Michigan has their own grades that they're putting on each and every player. And they're going to have, I think Pro Football Focus has one person that goes through the tape and will evaluate, each play. Michigan's got more than that when they're talking about their team and the grades that they're putting on their guys. It's a lot more than what Pro Football Focus is putting on.
Danny, that was one of the big things coming from high school that players have to adjust to, is that every single play, everything you do in practice is filmed. This was the same for me 40 years ago. I did some of it as a high school coach, film some stuff. It's hard, you don't have the money and the budget. You put a kid on high school, you put a kid on a ladder with, it's a different deal. Anyway, yeah. I remember when I was playing and my coach had played, my coach, Milan Vuletic, he worked under Bill Mallory at Indiana. He was an assistant coach with Bill Mallory for many years. So when we played Indiana, I remember my coach saying, listen, Indiana and Coach Mallory, they will watch every single play that you've been on the field for all year, and whether you honor bootleg, reverses, as an edge player. You follow me?
Yeah.
Because those plays, you want to run those plays against the guy that's a little clueless or not as disciplined to honor bootleg, reverses, and all the trick plays that people run. So he just told, I just always remember that as a player that, he said, hey, this coaching staff will watch every single thing you do, every game you're in, every single play, to determine whether they can run that against you. So I did it as a coach too, Denny. That's it. That's the old Hayden Fry line. Put salt on the wound. That's what you're looking at as a coach, evaluating the enemy. Where can I run the ball? Where's the weakness? Can I run at Scarcelli or can I run at Fithian? I want to find Fithian, number 42 Fithian. You know what I mean? I'm joking.
That's all right.
That's what coaches do. It makes sense, man.
Scar, did you want to talk about your 401k, or did you want to talk about the House settlement for college football or something?
Well, the House, they're talking about it today. And I in my opinion, what I think as a Michigan person, however this thing plays out, Michigan, we don't want no salary cap. We don't want a figure that's going to restrict, because listen, we have an advantage financially with the alumni that we got. Joe Lynn, man, we got Larry Ellison, we got some people that taught, Ross and some of these guys. I just think our alumni base, Denny, I just think it's real, man. I think it has the potential to be more and compete, allow our programs to compete better than the enemy in the Big Ten. I just feel like that. So I don't want no salary cap. I don't want a figure that, the whole athletic department has to honor. That's just my opinion on it. to give. Listen, when I was getting recruited, Michigan just finished their indoor practice building. They were the first team in the country to have an indoor practice facility. That's a money thing. They had money to build an indoor facility. Bo said, hey, I don't want to practice in the snow. We're going to play in a bowl game, blah, 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 during rainy, crummy weather during the season. They built them an indoor building. It's a factor in recruiting. Money is a factor in recruiting. You got better facilities. So I experienced it on a different level, but I'm just saying, we don't want to be. So for the longest time, we were the only team to have an indoor practice field.
Yeah, I'm with you. It benefits Michigan to have no cap. So no cap.
Yeah, so that's my take on that.
Is when you wanted to talk about Cal money, is that Coach Cal at Arkansas?
No, I saw that they got a Joe Lynn type dude over there too. But this guy wants to call the shots. He's telling this is the stuff you want, because I was a coach, high school coach, and we had people that donated and helped out, and some of them wanted to dictate how money was spent.
Right.
So Cal has a big donor, and they want Ron Rivera, the former Cal guy, former coach at a bunch of different places. Yeah. Apparently, the donor wants Rivera to have the final say on money, not the head football coach. You see how that's a problem?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So anyway, I've been there as a coach, and on a much smaller peon level, but it's what I want. If I'm coaching Michigan and I'm Sharon Moore, I want Joe Lynn to come on down for a couple games and put her up in a suite and feed her real good and make her happy and just cut the check and hey, I'll see you next year, Sharon. Good luck. You know what I mean? That's what I want from the big baller donors. Come to the game, enjoy it. Don't try to be pulling no triggers and calling the shots.
Right. You would like it to be that way. There's a lot of different things that go on though. I don't believe that all of the donor, but the bottom line is what you're saying is correct, that you don't want them interfering with any personnel decisions or influencing anything else. As much as they might want to, you would like them to just say, hey, here's the money. We'd love to have you down here. Well, roll out the red carpet, but you can't be, sticking your fingers in the pie.
You know what you do, Danny? If I was coach, I'd say, hey, Joe Lynn, here's a couple of uniform options for the, for the Nebraska game. What uniform you want us to wear? Those are decisions that are irrelevant to how you play, but you gave her some ownership. You know what I mean? Oh, wow. You know what I mean? I'm feeling good now. How much you want on that check this year?
Yeah. I follow you. There's
a couple more zeros on there.
Right. You would hope there would be something. I just think about what's his name at Barstool, Portnoy. He's not just wanting to cut a check. He wants to be involved a little bit.
Yes, those are the dudes. Those are the guys that are They're problematic.
Well, I mean, it's not easy. I don't think Sharon Morris. He's pointed out a couple of times that he's got Sharon's number and he's calling him up, but for the most part, you're Sharon Moore. You're like, oh, I got to take this call, or something like that. But,
Danny, that's the part of being a head coach that, there's so many things that got nothing to do with X's and O's.
Yeah.
What I would tell Sharon is, hey, Dave, what color shoes are you liking for this game? You know what I mean? Or why don't you come on down and have a pregame meal with us? How you feel about that? Give them irrelevant stuff. Give them some ownership to stuff that's totally a non-factor in whether you win or lose, and then just write the check, big fella, and get the hell out of here. Seriously, man, because I've been there, man.
I hear you.
I had to tell some people, hey, man, I can't help you here. You ain't making that decision, or you take your couple dollars and hit the road.
All right, you ready to answer some questions?
Yeah.
Here's Ferris pointing out that Michigan's got an easy schedule. No Oregon, no Penn State, no Indiana, no Illinois. That alone should put the over and under at 9.5 wins. And I'm right now at 9 wins. I'm at 9-3 for Michigan. So if it was 9.5, I would take the under on that. So,
Well,
that's what I see.
Michigan State's going to be a bigger, better team. Nebraska's going to be a bigger, better team than they were last year. There's some games on there that are, we got to go to USC. They could be a bigger, better team. Oklahoma ain't going to be no joke. But hey, every game we can win. We can win every single game on our schedule if we do things the way I think. But I just you don't always know, Denny, how good how tough your schedule is or how weak it is. Sometimes until after about game 3 when you watch some of these teams play. Sometimes they're not as good as you thought, and sometimes they're worse.
It's true, and yet what we will do over the next few months, you have these early top 25s that come out. In Michigan, if you look at the Big Ten and you look at their schedule, none of those teams are in the top 25, so they dodge a lot of those teams, and that's why it does look like that they have.
Those rankings mean jack, Danny. My last year, we finished number 2 in the nation. We were not ranked preseason.
No, I hear you. I mean, they're just a guide, just something to have some fun with. The spring game is open.
It's a bunch of dudes like Feinbaum, man. So who cares? Spring game is open, man. Spring game is always open. It's free. So that's the deal there.
Yeah, I don't know.
Ferris wants someone to go to the big house and live stream it. We'll see.
Well, what will be interesting is how much of the video will be ending up on YouTube, how much, TikTok, you can go live. You can go live on a number of Facebook. I don't know, just Twitter. Can you do a live? I'm not really sure, but yeah, I mean, anybody can crank it up and go ahead. So we'll see. Dave liked the breakdown of the offense. Here's 23 tails. He's talking about
hey, 23, man. Let me tell you something. We got tight ends on our roster, okay? We got Chip coming in. Y'all think of the spread off. You see, I think we're gonna have to take a look, but I think we may see just a little more, 4 wide, 3 wide formations than we did last year. Maybe a little. But I think Sharon Moore, the foundation of what he believes in is winning them 3 championships with tight ends. So, it'll be interesting to see, the little tweaks, how much fullback, how much, are we going to have 2 tight ends in the game? And we won't really know until, we get into the season a little bit.
Antoine's wondering why these stadiums try to kill people's pockets with overpriced food. They should at least try to be reasonable, especially with the ticket prices.
Greed, man. Greed, Antoine. They get away with it. But yeah, Coastal Carolina, that's good that they're doing it. And that's why you got to
know. Michigan made what did I say? That they made $2 million a game last year on alcohol sales. I mean, you're not going to find too many places that if you could charge it, they're going to do it. And so they're not going to have any dollar hot dogs at Michigan.
Yeah.
You could say it's greed. You could say that's the way the world works, however you want to say it. But
I tell you, Denny, when I was getting recruited, we could come in at halftime and we went up to the press box as recruits. I don't know if they still allow that. When I was getting, and they did that for many years. So you go to a Michigan game as a recruit at halftime, we would go up to the press box and throw down about 4 or 5 hot dogs real quick.
Yeah, the food is much more accessible down and higher grade for the recruits now. So
yeah, I'm sure it isn't. Yeah, we had our choice of hot dogs, potato chips, and pop. That was it.
A little bit different now. Scar, do you think you could?
Let me tell you, Scar, Danny, I can still eat, man. When we went to the Rose Bowl, I don't know if I shared this. I can eat. I could still eat, but we go to the Lowry's, the steak joint.
Yeah.
Right. They had the competition eating against the Pac-10, Big Ten, Pac-10.
Yeah.
And Bo didn't want us eating like pigs. He said, "Man, you guys don't need any more than 2 of them." But I was just on the team. I wasn't playing. I didn't have to worry about getting ready for a game. I ate 4 of them things, man. 2-pound prime best steak you're ever gonna have. So if you ever go to California, Los Angeles, go to Lowry's, man, and get a prime rib, man. But I ate 4 of them.
Wow. Yeah, it's big, as much as you would think that I could eat. I'm not the biggest. I don't like to stuff myself, and I wouldn't say that I could just pack it away. It's not.
Okay, so there's a 9-day window, the 16th through the 25th, and so that's not too bad. We'll see the game then about a week later that they'll put it up.
Yeah. Antoine predicted that this was the way that spring was going to go. 23 Tails wanting to know about tailgating. If so, what games are you going to attend? You can tailgate at the spring game. As far as tailgates go, I work the games, and so if I would be going to a game, there wouldn't be much tailgating going on. So that's not going to be me. Saturdays involved. That's great. For years, being able to go to Michigan games, I like getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning and not getting home till 9 o'clock at night. I mean, it's a great day, but yeah, that's just not happening. That's not going to happen this year for me.
I usually go. I usually hang around. I usually show up at John Wangler's tailgate. A lot of former players go there. John hooks it up, man. That's a great Wolverine.
Yeah, well, you'll let us know when you're going to do that. We'll see if we can go over there by there.
But Denny, we're confident from what I'm hearing coaches talk. There's just a lot of good things, man. I'll give you my thoughts on the D line, what I'm hearing and what I'm feeling from listening. You got to try to decipher when you listen to Wink talk, when you listen to the linebacker coach talk. You'll get a sense of how confident they are with certain position groups. It's like you sense they're real confident with 33. What's his name, Denny? The edge player.
Nichols.
It seems like we got 4 tough dudes there. That'll be interesting to see how much outside edge that they put Barham. If Nichols is coming along, because Brandt was really good late in the year. TJ Guy was good. So if Nichols is as good as they say, that gives you 4. So now it comes down to, do you want to be messing around putting Barham on the edge if you've got 4 real good ones there and just, it's going to come down to, where do you put him? How do you play him? But it sounds like they're real confident with Nichols, which is great. That gives us 4 tough dudes there that we can line up and go anywhere and win.
Yeah, I talked with someone last week who indicated that they thought that the defensive backs were struggling in spring. And I put that over on the Maize and Blue Review, and a lot of people were like, what? Oh, I don't believe you. They didn't believe. And it wasn't my thought. I wasn't at one of the practices, and it wasn't somebody, but it was somebody that I talked with. Well, I happened to double back today because so many people were like, you don't know what you're talking about, or kind of like that. And this person, because it was just offered up to me that the DBs were struggling. So I got to get a little bit more on it today. And this person said that it comes from they said a good source. So you can take it and believe it, or you can just take it and, throw it right out the window. But somebody that I spoke with said that they felt like in the spring that the Michigan defensive backs are struggling. So take it for what it's worth.
Yeah, we'll see, man. I don't know what the hell that, what does that mean? Physically, we don't have the athletes. We're making mental mistakes. I mean, that can mean, what are we doing? Are we not smart enough to get all wing stuff with some of the new guys that have moved up? If you ask me as a coach, struggling, it's, what is it? I don't know. We're soft. We're not tough.
There could be a lot of hard things. Agreed. There could be a lot of things there. Look, the wide receivers could be making.
Yeah, that term. Yeah, we can't cover people. We can't cover man. I don't know. I mean.
Yeah. Well, Some of that. There you go.
Well, yeah.
All right. We got people just, let's see if there's any more questions. Here's somebody taking a shot.
Yeah, Martini, Portney, he's got Portney is an ass kissing one. Listen, if I was talking to Portney, yeah, he just needs to, if you want to be a true and really help a program, if I had a chance to talk to Portney as a former Michigan guy, I'd say, listen, Dave, the best thing you can do is promote Michigan on your platform. You love Michigan. You want to see Michigan win. You cut a nice little check for Michigan athletics, and you want us to get a quarterback and come around, hang around. But you can't be jumping into all this, time to pull the quarterback, time to put my, you know what I mean? You can't. Then you lose credibility, man.
Yeah, I think his approach is, he'll promote Michigan.
Yeah, self-promotion, man. We don't need self-promotion. That's not Michigan. We're a team, baby.
Yeah, well.
We don't need self-promoting people, man, outside the program either, Danny. We just cut the check, man.
Well, you're going to have to find a little balance with Portnoy. He's no way. Here's Michigan Go Blue 1, 2, 3, 4, who's dropping the bag on this Monday. How about that? How will we balance our identity of smash mouth football and run game with Bryce Underwood and not worry about the stats and simply final score?
I don't think Jerome Moore or Jim Harbaugh or anybody gives a damn about any stats other than win. When it comes offensively, just control, obviously they're going to talk to their team about, turnovers and all them little things that matter. But listen, we want to be physical. I'm looking at this question. We want to be a physical team, no matter what formation we're in. We want to be able to run tight ends and make you defend a tight end offense also. And what Bryce gives you is the same stuff, that JJ gives you is the quarterback run stuff. And, those are the things that are really going to be added to the offense with him. And his ability to, when we do drop back and pass, Danny, that's the thing where he's a problem. You know what I mean? Like if I'm scouting Michigan, when I played, the first thing I want to know is how fast is the quarterback? I got to answer that question as an edge player. As soon as I come in on Monday, is it Bernie Kosar or is it Lamar Jackson? I got to know. Can he run or can he? So Bryce is going to give us all that stuff, but you balance it. But also to answer that question, what is the defense going to want to take away? So if we have smash mouth, we can run our basic gap stuff, power stuff, zone stuff. If we can run the ball with that, and we also have the quarterback run, and we have a legitimate pass game. Now the defense has to pick. What the hell am I going to stop? So we're going to run what the hell the defense is giving us sometimes. Sometimes you don't dictate it as an offense. They dictate it what they're trying to take away.
Yeah, and the thing that you'll hear a lot between now and the start of the season is, Bryce Underwood is only 17 years old. He's not going to turn 18 until the middle of August. And what's going to help him out more than anything else is a run game and then a defense and good special teams, everything around him. But coaches, they're not stupid. If this guy is flashing where he can, throw the ball the length of the field and he's really has excellent ball placement, well, they'll open it up a little bit more and they'll let him take some of those shots. I mean, if he's taking shots and he's connecting, well, it's not like they're going to say, well, let's just ram our head into this door and, just run the football because that's our identity.
Yeah, no, Danny, they're not putting him in the game if he can't throw every damn pass on that's asked for. He will be in the game, ready, and the coaches will be ready, willing, and able to, because he's already proved it that he can make all those passes. We've seen all his film in high school. He just has to get comfortable, in front of 100,000 on television and the speed of it, and that stuff will come. But he's, if I'm defending it, like if he's the starter game one,
yeah,
if I'm the coach from who the hell we played, New Mexico.
Yes.
Okay, if I'm New Mexico and he's the starter game one, I mean, I'm gonna, and I'm the defensive coordinator in New Mexico. I am gonna, because I'm not letting Michigan hand the ball off to number 23. I'm gonna force Bryce to show that he can make a pass. You know what I mean? That's what I would do as a defensive coach. I'm doing everything I can to take away quarterback run and every single run play where your running back gets the football. You follow me? And then I may overcommit at times too, and put my secondary in a bind to defend the pass, which a lot of people did against us all freaking year because they didn't honor our pass game.
I haven't tried to evaluate it myself, but last week I was talking with someone who has looked at New Mexico, and this person told me that New Mexico might be the worst team in all of college football. That's how bad they are. So I'm thinking that, Michigan can do anything they want to get ready.
No, I know, but you want to, if they are that bad, though, I still want to throw. I'm going to have my quarterback throw the ball all over the place, to get them acclimated to doing that.
Yeah, people still talking about, it doesn't matter if they broadcast it because people can come to the game and just buy a ticket. That's right. I mean, if you really are thinking about the transfer portal and if you're really thinking about Michigan, you can just go down there. That's why I predicted that this spring game is going to be more of a watered down version. It's going to look a lot more like the spring games when Lloyd Carr was the coach. You'd see all the different players. You see them going from station to station in these different periods. You're not seeing a whole lot. You might at the end see them then, do a little bit more and then maybe a little bit of scrimmaging, but I'm not anticipating a full-on spring game myself. That's just me guessing because
what I would want to know, Denny, is I would really, really want to zero in. If I'm scouting Michigan, Oklahoma will have a guy there. I guarantee you that. Nebraska will probably have a guy there. And it isn't so much, because Nebraska and Oklahoma, they're both going to want to work on stuff. If they could start to get an early jump in their spring football, working on things they see that Michigan's doing, you follow me?
Yeah.
You don't want to wait for game week to start working on Michigan stuff if you're Oklahoma or Nebraska. So they're going to they'll have a guy there, and they'll film it from probably Oklahoma might have 5-10 guys there filming the end zone, filming. They'll get a guy as high up as they can on the 50-yard line. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They'll have guys all over the place.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I'm going to look around. There's going to be a lot of people. You're going to see, a lot of.
Yeah, you're going to see cameras so I'm just telling you what I think you're going to see. Oklahoma, they're not going to wait for the damn Big Ten Network film.
No. Yeah, and they can actually get the all 22 if I'm just sitting right in the stands. That's the thing.
I don't know if I'm sure we're going to have somebody down in Oklahoma though. We'll have somebody down there. We'll have guys down there. Anything that I don't know if they're opening up their scrimmage or not, but if they are, I guarantee you, we'll have some dudes with some camouflage on and no blue on down there in Norman.
Yeah, that's right. With their
maybe whatever.
Go ahead, give us that joke. I know what you were going to say.
I was going to say, maybe a Spartan hat on or something, or somebody throw him a curveball. Nah, I'm just here watching the game, man. I'm with UAB or I'm with Bowling Green or, I'm just whatever. I'm
Isn't that advanced in-person video scout?
Well, it's a good question. Does that rule apply to spring games? Advanced video scouting. I wonder. I don't know what the rule says. You know what I mean?
It's the bylaw. We've looked at it quite a bit. It doesn't say anything about
spring games,
spring scrimmages.
Okay.
But if you were, let's just say, someone that was on the Michigan football staff, I don't think it would be advisable to be sitting there and, videoing the.
Well, then we better. Well, how the hell, Oklahoma's. Let's see what they do, Denny. That'll be interesting to see if Michigan sends out some people throughout the stands. How do you secure that, man? How do you manage that situation? Tell people to put their cell phones away at a spring game?
Well, you can't do that. That's why I think that Michigan's going to have a watered down version of this spring game, because they're not
just some drills, because
some drills, and you see them where the coaches, they go up and they'll run first, second, and third team over there. You got the quarterbacks; they'll have their orange jersey on, and then at the end, I mean, it's basically like a typical practice. I think they'll have mostly a practice. They might do a little something that you can have a little bit of competition at the end, for 10 minutes. Yeah. You see that a lot, whether it's college or pro, but that's what I'm guessing that you're going to see. And you're not going to see, any kind of formations that are going to have anything to do with anything. You're going to be pretty vanilla. And it's the one thing that most people, 90, I don't even know if it's 90, it's probably more than 90%. 90% of the people that just go to these games, they just like seeing Michigan in the helmets and the jerseys. I was talking about trying to go to practice myself, and I was telling somebody like, "Oh, what do you want to just see them stand around stretching?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "Nothing gets me more fired up than going to a practice. When you're sitting there, yeah, I like to see the guys in the helmets. I like to hear the whistles. I like seeing them run around a little bit." And that's what most people, when they're going to these games, they're not like, "Oh," but there are people that are into the different kind of things. But look, even just oh, they're going to run a reverse, woo!
Because Danny, the thing about these scrimmages is you're going to see guys that are going to play in the spring game. I'm just visualizing if you had a full regular spring game that might not play so much. Maybe they might not play a bunch against New Mexico for whatever reason. But now you've got a little bit of a scouting report, and maybe the kid was hurt or something for game one, and now he's playing against Oklahoma game 2. You know what I mean? You have a little reference of something from spring that you again. I'm just putting myself as a coach. You draw back on all that little information that you got from whatever source from how long ago.
Yeah, well, normally in a spring game, you might see somebody like J.J. McCarthy play one series. Next thing you know, they got a hat on and they're on the sideline. But now, Bryce Underwood, you're not worried about Bryce Underwood transferring. So you're going to let him play a little bit more. But, Jaden Davis, how much do you really want to have him out there? How much do you really want the third and fourth string running backs and the depth outside the 2 deep on the offensive line? If I'm from another school, those are the guys that I'm eyeballing to see if I can get some NIL. If there's a third string Michigan offensive lineman and he's playing, it's like, wow, he looks pretty good. Same thing. They'll know who the 2 deep is. And that's where I'm wondering if it'll be a little bit different. So,
Danny, I remember as a high school coach, we were at a scrimmage. We were going to play Tecumseh game 3. And I remember, because I had nothing on, they weren't in our league. It was a non-league game. I didn't know nothing about it. I remember going to their scrimmage. And you scrimmaged 3 other teams. So they went against one team. They ran all the same stuff. They went against another team. They ran all the same stuff. And then the third and final scrimmage, they're running the same stuff. And we're getting ready to go. My assistant coach is like, man, let's go. They've done nothing different. Let's just hang around for a minute. Sure enough, it was like the last couple minutes of when they had the ball, when they were on offense, they ran something totally different. Mm-hmm. One, just at the very end of the last team they scrimmaged, they ran a formation that they hadn't shown the whole time. And I just remember that, telling my coach, I says, we are going to see that formation. We're going to see that formation a lot, and we got to be ready to stop that formation. They were a damn good team, and to make a long story short, we lost the game, and that formation was a huge factor in the game. They had some good players, but my point is, this was a similar deal. You're scouting, and you're saying, okay, what the hell does it matter? Well, some of that stuff you're sizing up that maybe they didn't run in a game. You know what I mean? But they did it in their scrimmage that you can refer back to. And, because if I'm watching Michigan scrimmage and I'm Oklahoma, I want to look at the athleticism of Underwood. You know what I mean? I want to see it up for real. How do we have to game plan for this kid? Because I might not see that against New Mexico State. He might not do New Mexico. He might not do some of those things, or some of those players might not show some of the skills that you're seeing. But so that, again, it gets back to me really understanding why you don't want to show people much at all of anything.
I'm with you. As much as we're building it up, we'll see what they have on April the 19th. All right, great stuff, Scar. Anything else?
No, man. Basketball is Dusty's bringing them in. I think it's more than money, man. I think people want to play for Dusty. We read about Danny Wolf talking to that big kid from UAB. You know what I mean?
Yaxel. Yeah.
I think you got to have money. You got to have college. You got to have a locker room. You got to have assistant coaches. You got to have a whole deal when these kids come in on their recruiting trip. Like, man, I want to be part of that deal right there. So I know people want to keep saying, oh, you got more money than the next guy. But nah, Dusty's got the whole package, man.
Yeah, that's the thing that I've come away with is it's everything. Michigan has everything right now. And for the longest time, they had everything but the bag, and now they have a bag. So, it's fun times.
Yeah. So
great job, Scar.
All right, Danny, go blue.
There he is, Jim Scarcelli. Thanks for joining us. We'll see